What a beautiful title. There's no greater ecstasy than what is here right now. So in everything that's happening, all you really want is what is. No matter what's happening. And that's as radical in every situation, even if you're in a war zone, you're in a fire, you're arrested, your family dies, all you actually want is what is. Because in what is, there is home, there is connection to who you truly are. Everything else is fleeting. And in the human world, there is a kind of knowing of this. That, yeah, you can have family, you can have friends, you can have dogs, you can have experiences, but everything passes. But what is doesn't pass. What is actually your home. So what's happening right now is actually your home, and it's a deep sense of rest, because you could call it the end of seeking. But every word I use to try to pin it falls short. So even saying that it's the end of seeking doesn't quite grasp it. It's not quite right. But it's this intimacy with what's happening, that this is actually your home and not what's in time. So the person is always looking for home. It's all it ever wants is home, to feel home. But it gets confused with pleasure and pain. So it has pleasurable experiences like the pleasure of having family, the pleasure of having intimacy, the pleasure of having an ee-ee-oo-oo, ee-ee-oo-oo, the pleasure of having an ee-ee-oo-oo. The pleasure of having a beautiful garden, of a sunset, of succeeding, of competition, playing a game, driving, running, cycling, all these things that we enjoy. The mind hooks onto that because firstly, pleasure sends all these chemicals through your body, which feels nice. And then also, just in the moment of achieving pleasure, there is the absence of seeking. So in that absence of seeking, there is more of a connection to what is, ironically. So it's kind of like achieving the pleasure makes you more present in that moment. But it's the mistake of the person, because what it does is it encourages overactive thinking and over identification with things, with yourself and with things. You could call yourself a thing. So with your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations. And then it activates this big surge inside everybody that the future is my savior. Because everybody, after they begin to start having complex thoughts, like 2, 3-ish, there's always a sense of not quite being there. Almost there sometimes, but not quite being there. You're not quite in the right place. And some people have that sense more and some people less. Some people will feel more at home in their experience and some people will feel less at home. And those that feel less at home most probably become spiritual seekers in the end. They'll go and try all these different things to try to find rest. And maybe it is that karmically if you feel less at home, you're more karmically set up for this. Like you're predestined to be more interested in this. If it's not that strong, that discomfort with what is, then you'll just keep looking to the pleasures that will be satisfying enough. To have the home, to have the friends, to have the wine glasses, the lovers, whatever it is, the children, whatever it floats your boat. Don't know if you say that in many other languages. Float your boat. What floats your boat? It's such a sweet saying. So you come to this talk, and some people maybe are just listening out of a resonance, so just out of a joy of hearing this. And then other people maybe are trying to intellectually understand this, like what's being said. And then maybe other people are trying to pick up on some energy, like pick up an energy of this. So there might be different reasons. Another reason might be a projection onto me, like wanting my attention. And so it's exciting, these live streams and asking questions. So there could be like a wanting of intimacy with me. Often when you're a speaker, you represent, especially when you're female, you represent the mother. You also represent the father to people, but they're not really conscious of that. So if you've got unresolved longings from your parents, then often it gets projected onto authority figures, and I become an authority figure. When I first started talking, I had no clue of that. Like that I was an authority speaker, figure. I just went out and spoke, and I didn't realize that people then began to have really complex relationships with you. And because you're kind of like quite oblivious to it, because you're speaking to a group of people, and so your relationship is kind of like one. It's like a relationship with the group of people. And then all the individual people, not all of them, but some of them are having these complex relationships with you, like you're really triggering them, or they really want your attention or approval, all these different things. It's like little fireworks. You're like, poof, poof. And I had just no sense of that. I was like, man, do I upset people? And also do the opposite, like make them feel really good. And it took me years to begin to really understand the psychology of people and what it is, the psychology of when people come to talks. I'm still learning, actually, so it's not like I've completely understood it. I'm still learning, but I feel like I've got a really good grasp on it now, like really getting it, which then makes me have more empathy because I understand it with people. Whereas before, when people are sending you messages like F you effing beep, 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 and you've never met them before, you don't even know who they are, you're like, could I really be this awful? And this desire to come home is really beautiful. I think it's a like fundamental desire in humans, but it gets covered on the surface. So you come to this talk and maybe there's a part that's wanting approval. Maybe I represent like your mother and there's like a wanting of approval or something. Could be all different types of things. And underneath that, there is the desire to go home, which is really beautiful. It feels really expansive, but the top desire feels more contracted because it's not really what you want. It feels more tight. It might feel really exciting and liberating in some ways. Liberating is not the right word. Exciting and juicy in some ways, because it's like, you know, when you're just about to win the competition or something, or when you're running a race and you're just about to win, like it's very exciting, but it's not actually really what you want. That's like the way in which the body moves. The body likes to win, or the body likes to have attention. The body likes to have approval, but it's not what you really deeply truly want. What you really deeply, like, that's more superficial. What you deeply truly want below that is freedom. That's what you really want, is to be contented with what is, to be here right now, to not be running away from this. To sit here and be fully invested in being here, not be invested in longing for something that's in the future, not be trying to push something away from the past, just really here, just really like falling into what's happening. And then on the human, like the human has like natural momentum, so it might be to drink the drink. Or you might have a natural momentum to form a friendship with me or something, or to get on with your partner. So there might be this natural momentum, but that natural momentum comes with ease and expansiveness, flow. The seeking energy contracts it. The seeking energy like makes it too important. Like it pulls it in to make it like a center, like an energetic center. So you really feel like you're a solid, hard person inside this body, rather than there's actually nobody in this body, it's empty. Like your essence, what is watching now, is emptiness and fullness. But it's empty of all things. It's just experiencing. And please note, like when I'm speaking, there's such beauty, like it feels very beautiful. But then also there is also sometimes like these moments of sadness where it's like I can't quite capture that into words. Like my words fail this. My words lead you on. Like lead you on as in like activate that seeking energy. It's like, yeah, I want the freedom. My words don't quite describe it, like empty. What does that mean? These words are so impossible. Because what I mean as empty might be disassociation or a numbness to somebody else. Whereas I mean what's experiencing, the base of experiencing is totally empty. So that which is looking now is empty and simultaneously full. Your essence is empty and full. It's no thing and all things. It's so beautiful. But I always have this moment of I can't quite get it in words, can't quite be put into words. So Tony Parsons always says, maybe he doesn't say it anymore, but when I used to listen to him, I thought I heard him say something like, if you leave this room believing anything that I've said, then you've totally missed what's being spoken about. It's that which is beyond words. The words are like a pointer. So it's like the finger pointing to the moon, and the words are the finger, and that's obviously not the moon. So it's like you listen to the words and you put too much importance on the words and you're just staring at the finger and missing the moon. It's so impossible to quite get this. But maybe there's a sense of it. Like, what is watching right now? So there is a person that appears with thoughts, feelings, sensations, ideas. A person that's like, I'm a doctor. I have a PhD. I have a dog. I have 4 kids. I have 100,000 euros saved in the bank. I have a retirement fund. I live in the United States of America with a very posh English accent. My wife is from Hong Kong. I like to fly. I enjoy movies and TV and golf. I am a lesbian. I'm just giving examples of all these titles that we call ourselves. And that's true of the body. That's maybe a description of what's happening for the body. That the body is a lesbian, the body is strong. But all the other things like the money, the doctor, none of those are here. None of those belong here right now. But it's a description of what the body apparently does in time. But it's not actually the experiencer. So that's an experience. And this is where there is always this confusion. The person is always believing that it is real and the experiencer, whereas the person is actually an experience. The person isn't actually alive. What's alive is consciousness. And when I say alive, I mean like what is registering what's happening, what is conscious of what's happening is consciousness, not the person. So it's not this person inside that's like, I am the doctor. Like, I am the doctor passes. And there's something that knows that. So it's not like the end game. There's like, I am the doctor. And then there's something that knows that saying, like, I am the doctor. I am a good person. And that which knows it is the non-duality. It's the non-separation. That consciousness is actually not even behind the person, it's actually in all things. So you think that you are conscious inside the brain, but actually consciousness is conscious of the you, conscious of the room, conscious of the windows, conscious of the TV, the computer screen, of the light, of the sound of my voice. So it's conscious of that, and it also is that. So these things appear in the consciousness as the consciousness. So there is consciousness happening, and all of this is a reflection of that consciousness. So what we begin to think is we think consciousness is back here watching everything, whereas actually consciousness is actually in everything. There is no place where consciousness begins. It is in all things that are appearing. So you say that the consciousness is watching the person, but the watching is not quite right. It's like this finger pointing at the moon. It's like the consciousness is also the person, is the screen. The person believes, I am consciousness, I am limited, I am inside this body. I am conscious. But what's being suggested here is there is consciousness beyond that. The person is coming and going. There is no solid entity. There is consciousness that's watching it all and simultaneously being it all. So your consciousness doesn't end anywhere. So you have as much consciousness as me, and it doesn't end at the computer screen. It doesn't end at the chair. It doesn't end at the window. It is that. So now, like the consciousness, like this computer is in my consciousness. But when I say mine, who is this mine? And where is this outside of consciousness? You see the problem with words. Because it's not mine as Lisa's. This is what we're always getting confused about. Like Lisa has consciousness. Lisa is an experience coming and going. Just like your personality, like Dave or Hannah or Mohammed or Aisha. They are appearing in this too. And they, all of you, have as much consciousness as I have, but it's just not mine and it's just not yours. There is the same amount of consciousness. The person could be sleepy, the person could be dopey, the personal awareness could be less focused, and so it says, oh, I'm less conscious. But actually, consciousness is always perfectly still and present. From the moment that you wake up in the morning, it's there. So you wake up, and it's not like before you wake up there is a little Lisa character sitting with a computer like, turn on my consciousness. That consciousness is there, and then the person appears, the consciousness appears. So you begin to wake up, and then the person appears. The person starts thinking about itself, or thoughts appear, or feelings appear. And the person wants to do something with that consciousness. Like, I want to be still in that consciousness. I want to wake up to that consciousness. But that person can't, because it doesn't exist. It's not a solid entity. It's like a midriff of thoughts and feelings and experiences happening in the consciousness. So that person like jumps up and says, I want to be more conscious, and then that thought disappears. And why am I not more conscious? And then that thought disappears. I'm never that conscious, and that thought disappears. I want to practice consciousness. So what she's saying is, I've got to practice consciousness. All these thoughts are appearing, but consciousness is there. So the person is like trying to go back to something that it can't go back to, because there isn't a person that could go back to something. It's an experience appearing. It's like the characters on a movie screen trying to find the screen. Like, where is the screen? Like, that would be a really cool film, eh? Okay, so maybe we take questions. It's hard to know. Yeah, what's being heard and what's not.